What's up, dogs? We are filming on location today because I'm in the parking lot, but that's quite alright. As long as you have your notes and your Bible handy, we're good to go. So today's study is John chapter 2, and it's only two kind of short-ish stories, but I've spent the week kind of watching videos on them, reading them, rereading them, and seeing what I could get out of it. So I'm excited to discuss them with you. And hopefully the weird shadow and driving traffic and people behind me is not too distracting. I'm really sorry if it is. So let's do this thing. So John chapter 2 verses 1 through 11 is the story of Jesus turning water into wine. And coming from a Catholic school, I have heard this story a bunch of times, but I never really thought about the significance. I'm going to start by reading it a little bit and then I'll stop and chit chat. So it says, "On the third day a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, 'They have no more wine.' 'Dear woman, why do you involve me?' Jesus replied, 'My time has not yet come.'" And so whenever I first read that, so that's verse 4, I was like, that's a little harsh, Jesus. Like, normally, I don't know, I just never, it was very like, why do you involve me? It was just kind of out of the normal characteristics of what we think of Jesus. And whenever he's like, "Dear woman, my time has not yet come," it's just it's foreshadowing how he's going to save, us all from the guilt and the shame, because this family running out of wine would have been like a really, really, really big deal at the time. It would be a big deal now, but it was just it would have been a huge deal, brought a lot of shame to the family then. So since he did fix it or make water into wine, it was kind of like foreshadowing how he can take the ordinary into the extraordinary, and that's what he does in our lives. So it's kind of a really cool way if you think about it like that he was changing the dirty water into wine, like the finest wine. And so I think of it right now like bad things in my life are just, dirty water, and Jesus can take that and turn it into the most amazing wine that anyone has ever tasted. So hint, hint, that might be a discussion question. And I watched a video on this and did a really great job of expressing this. And he highlighted 4 things about Jesus' style that we learn from this passage. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of them. I don't want to repeat exactly what he said, obviously. I'll link that video down below, but I'm just going to talk about them a little bit more. The first thing is that Jesus works kind of behind the scenes and quietly. He wasn't like, "Hey everybody, I'm about to turn some water into wine, like get your phones out, get a video of this." It was he didn't tell people, only the servants knew. He was very, very, humble about the fact that he was performing this miracle. And after he turns the water into wine, in verse 10, he said that the master of the banquet was like, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." And just be patient and trust God's timing. But if you couldn't tell, like, the best part that I think from this is just in reflection of Jesus can make these amazing conversions. He can take any of us. He can take people that seem to be so lost, so broken, a sinner. Like, he could take me. Like, I know that I'm no saint by any means. Sins will be absolved, and though they're like scarlet, I'll be like wool, and it'll just all be cleansed and purified. And Jesus is capable of taking, just as I said, the ordinary into extraordinary and doing amazing things. And then one more thing I want to talk about in this specific little chapter is whenever, I think this is what he said, that these are his mother's last spoken words, are verse 5. His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." And I think he said those were her last spoken words. They're like not spoken words out loud, but spoken recorded words. And just think about how powerful those are. Like, do whatever he tells you. And he didn't even do anything yet. And Mary was just like, she trusted him. She had such faith. And even if they sounded like crazy or silly or stupid, she was just like, do whatever he tells you to do. And I feel like we could all take a lesson like that, because sometimes God's telling us to do things and we're just like, that sounds ridiculous. Like whenever he told me told me. Whenever I just felt called to make this channel, obviously in my head I was like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, who are you to put yourself on YouTube talking about faith? You don't know anything, Amanda. What are you doing? And, you know, just kind of just listening to Mary's words. Do whatever he tells you. If you feel like he's telling you to do something, just trust that and follow it and do it, because you never know, he could be changing some water into wine. Things you don't even know are water could be wine. Like, he could make things that you don't even know are, you know, could be better. He could make even greater. And it's just crazy to think about, if we even had the slightest bit of faith, just how far that can take us. And then the next part is John 2:12-25, and that is Jesus clears the temple. So I have a couple different things I would like to discuss, but the first part is actually something in the very first verse, and it's after this he went down to Capernaum with his mothers and brothers and his disciples. And as I said, I'm from the Catholic school, and we learned that Jesus did not have any brothers. You know, he was an only child, Mary, ever virgin. And I personally, it doesn't make a difference to me if Jesus did or did not have brothers. That really does not affect my faith in any way. But say if he did, or, you know, did not have brothers, whichever one, does that change things for you? You know, if Jesus did have brothers, would you not believe in him as much? Like, does it matter to you? Like, I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just curious, does it influence you anyway? Like, that there's other people, I don't know, I don't think that it would really be a big deal, because it wouldn't be like a God's other son, it would be Mary and Joseph's son, or other sons or daughters or whatever, because there wouldn't be another Mary and God's son, because that's just Jesus. But like, if there were people that were like his half siblings, I guess, I don't know, I'm a little confused by all of that, but it really doesn't affect my faith or my beliefs in any way. It's just interesting to think about. And in this passage, Jesus comes in and he sees the people exchanging money in the temple, like courtyard, like money and for cattle and like sacrifices and things. And I really wasn't sure, you know, like what was going on. So I did a little bit of research, and people were, it's not that he was mad that they were, you know, selling things, but it's just that they were ripping people off and overcharging, and people that had to travel a long way, rather than bringing, you know, like their cows or their horses or whatever they were going to use to sacrifice, they would have to buy one there, and they would way overcharge for it, just because like the convenience, like kind of how whenever you buy something at like a baseball stadium, or a baseball stadium, baseball field, baseball arena, no, it's not an arena, baseball field, I don't know. Whenever you buy something at like a venue, you're gonna pay more than you would in the grocery store, just for that convenience. And so they were kind of ripping people off, and that's why Jesus was so upset. And so I thought it was very, and again, kind of like the last one, it was a different look at Jesus, because we normally think of him as very, you know, quiet, blessing babies, singing with children, like, you know, doing very gentle things. And then he's making a whip and he's clearing out the place, and that's just like not what we normally think of when we think of Jesus. And I think it's kind of, it's not cool, I don't want to say cool, but it's a good reminder that, you know, Jesus, he gets mad. We should fear God. Like, he has the power and the authority, and we shouldn't just think of him as like, oh, we're all forgiven. Like, he gets mad. There will be a judgment, and you will be responsible for your sins. What I was trying to say is that Jesus was upset because they were making a profit, the priests were making a profit out of the worship and the Passover and stuff like that. So that's why he was upset. And just that they were making money off of the idea that they were helping people get closer to God and helping people make sacrifices. And so one of the videos, again, link down below, that I watched, he like compared it to a piñata, how it can be so beautiful on the outside, but if there's nothing but like gunk, I think he said spiders inside, it doesn't matter. And so that's Jesus, like that's how Jesus doesn't want us to be. He wants our faith to be not just beautiful on the outside and just feeling like it's all an act on the inside, but being beautiful on the outside and believing in your heart and soul and being real and taking it seriously, and not just, you know, like having real true intentions. And I thought it was very interesting. In verse 18, they say, "Then the Jews demanded of him, 'What miraculous sign can you show us to prove your authority to do all this?'" And they didn't try to like explain. They weren't like, "Sorry, Jesus," like, "Whoa," and or like they weren't like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you getting a whip and clearing the place?" They were just like, "What gives you the authority to do all of this?" So I thought that was interesting because they knew that they were wrong and they knew what they were doing was not, appropriate. Dare I say, sassy of the priests, just being like, "What gives you the authority to do this?" And it also says in one of the videos I was watching, they talked about the word prove and how proof, or you need proof, or someone says prove it, it's almost always a sign of disbelief. So they didn't believe that he was the Messiah. I was going to come and do something like that, but they didn't believe that it was him. They thought he was just Joseph the carpenter's son. They didn't believe he was the Son of God. And so the other Gospels have, I believe that they have this later on in their writings, closer to his crucifixion and his death, and that this was like a big thing that upset the priests. And I believe in John there is another clearing of the temple. I believe he just does it 2 times. So that's interesting about John as well. So this week's discussion question is, when in your life has Jesus taken water and turned it into wine? And I would probably say for my personal life, it is when I was in high school. I really, more than anything, wanted to make the cheerleading squad, and I did not make it, but I ended up making the dance team, and that ended up being so much better. Like, you have no idea. Like, it ended up being the most fun I have ever had. I loved that group. So just a time whenever something you thought was like bad and just seemed like, and Jesus took that and turned it into something great. And this week's challenge. I challenge you to really present in your faith, to really be like a beautiful piñata and have candy on the inside and not spiders. Don't just go through the motions at church. Really, really believe, or try your very best to just have an ounce of real faith, or trust in God this week, and do all that you can to make it a deep down full intention, and just try your best. And if you need to talk about it with somebody, or if you want some suggestions on how I'm kind of trying to do that, please send me a message either here or on Twitter, and we will chit chat. But in doing that, I'm trying to be like Mary and do whatever he tells me to do. So yeah. Also, a couple shout outs to some girls that I've been messaging on Twitter that I just love so much, and they have made me smile and are just awesome. One is Isabel, or his daughter. She also has a YouTube. She is amazing. I love her videos. She is so encouraging, so fun to watch. So definitely check her out. I believe she said she's going to be posting videos every Friday. So you could watch her on Friday, watch me on Sunday. We can have a little weekend party. And also there is, I think it's like Christ's Cat Lover or something. We're talking about cats, and she's just such a sweetheart. And I believe she's doing this book club, or not book club, Bible study as well. So I really hope that those girls are doing well. I'm sending them so much love this week. I'm praying for you guys. And also there's one more girl, and I can't remember what her name is, and I'm so upset by this because I know this, and I just messaged her to make sure that her dog was okay because her dog was sick, and I cannot remember what her name is, but she will be linked down below as well. And she has a channel, and she's beautiful and she's wonderful, and I really hope you guys check out all those girls' channels and Twitters, and we could just be a fun little group of friends, and it would be great. So yes, let us study the Bible together. Cannot wait to hear your thoughts on John 2, and I will see you next week for John 3. Bye guys.